Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you the animal book tag. So I was tagged by Michaela from Michaela Eve Reads to do this tag. Michaela is a fellow Aussie booktuber and I absolutely adore her and her channel. So I'll be sure to leave a link to her video and her channel down below for you guys to check out. This tag was originally created by Miranda Reads and I will leave a link to her original tag video down below for you guys to check out as well. So let's jump straight into this animal book tag and get started. Question number 1. An animal that only comes up for air, the whale. What is a book that you only put down if you had to? For this one, I am going with the Steel and Stone series by Annette Marie. This is a series that I recently just completed the 5th and final book in. This is a young adult urban fantasy / paranormal series, and I read every one of the 5 books plus the novella in this series quite quickly, and they were definitely the type of books that, I think partly because I knew that they were really quick reads and that I could get through them really quickly, every time I started one I just wanted to read the whole thing, and so I did. Because of that, I flew through these books. I think I probably took me no more than 2-3 days at the max to get through each of the books in this series, but it is definitely a fast-paced, really enjoyable, fun series that I definitely recommend checking out. Question number 2, Beautiful but Scary, The Lion. What is a great book that intimidated you at first? For this question, I'm actually going with the Death Note manga series by Sugumi Ohma and Takeshi Obata. This is a series, I've only read 3 volumes so far, but I have enjoyed each of them, so I can't speak necessarily to the series as a whole, but manga just generally is something that for some reason I found extremely intimidating. Something to do with having to read it backwards, like back to front, as well as like the opposite way across the page. I just found extremely intimidating, and it took me a long time to take that leap to pick any kind of manga up, and I'm so glad that I did, because as I said, I've read 3 volumes of this Death Note series so far and I'm really enjoying it, and once I complete the Death Note series I do definitely plan to check out more manga in future. Question number 3, every kid's favourite, The Goldfish. What is your favourite children's book or book you read as a kid? For this one, I'm going to mention 2 books. The first of those is The Paper Bag Princess by Robert Munsch. This is one of my 2 favourite books from when I was quite little. I just absolutely adored this story. I haven't read it in years, and it's actually something that I was thinking about recently that I wanted to try see if my library has and get it out and just reread it just for the fun of it, because it's been such a long time since I read it. It follows a princess who is set to marry her prince, and then a dragon comes and I think it burns down her whole castle and all her clothes and kidnaps the prince, and she has to wear a paper bag as a dress because she doesn't have any clothes, and she goes to rescue the prince, which I loved that as a kid, that it was her going to rescue the prince. Like, even when I was a kid I totally adored that, and even thinking back on that as an adult, like, it was really quite feminist and forward, and definitely a kid's book that I absolutely adored. But my absolute favorite book that I remember reading, like children's book as a kid, was Belinda by Pamela Allen. This is a children's book that is about a cow, and it follows a farmer who, his wife I believe is responsible for the milking of the cow, and I think the cow's name's Daisy if I recall correctly. But the farmer's wife has to go away, and so the farmer has to milk the cow while his wife is away, but the cow does not like the farmer and doesn't want to be milked by the farmer. I remember reading this book so many times as a kid. I always used to get it out from the library at my school. I would read it like in the library and I would get it out all the time. I just absolutely adored this story, and it's one that I remember so vividly from my childhood. Question number 4, I've got a big head and little arms, The T-Rex. What is a book that is really strong in some areas and weak in others? For this question, I am actually going with an entire trilogy, and that is the Gemma Doyle trilogy by Libba Bray, the first book of which is A Great and Terrible Beauty. This is a trilogy that is definitely got some really amazing components to it, but in other areas is a little bit lacking. For me, one of the main things that I absolutely adored about this trilogy were the messages that I took out of it about kind of female empowerment. I just thought it had really, it's set in, is it Victorian times, I think? And so it's obviously set in a time where women did not have the same rights and voice that they do in today's world. And it is about women kind of trying to assert their power. And I found that a really interesting theme. It also deals with some issues surrounding like teenage girls discovering like their sexuality and things like that. And when I say their sexuality, I don't necessarily mean that they're questioning whether they're straight or lesbian or anything like that. I just mean generally their own kind of sexual awakening is something that the main character, particularly in this first book, is dealing with. Her first kind of foray into the world of kind of sexual desire and things like that, which is something you don't see a lot in YA stories. And I found that really interesting in this series. It does lack in other areas. Most of the problems that I have with this trilogy I can't really discuss because they kind of go into spoilery territory. It deals with some issues of fat shaming and things like that, and there's also some elements used as a plot twist kind of in later books that I don't agree with and things like that. But overall I did really enjoy the trilogy and it definitely has some great elements. But yeah, it's definitely a bit up and down. Question number 5, Spider. Nope, 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 nope. A book that you have no intention of going anywhere near. Now it's actually an interesting one because I personally have no problems whatsoever with spiders. It's something I've never been bothered by. But in any event, there are no real books that I just would never go near. I am open to basically reading anything. If it's something that I want to read at any point, I'll read it. There's no books that I'm just like, oh, I'll never read that, because I don't know what I'm going to want to read like in future. There are a couple of books that I can think of that I'm a little bit reluctant to pick up. And the main two that come to mind is Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee and The Cursed Child by J.K. Rowling. And this is both for the same reason, and that is that these are books that are connected to books that I absolutely love and adore. And I am scared to read these next kind of installments and have it taint my love and enjoyment of the previous books. I don't think that it would, because I think that I could separate, like particularly with The Cursed Child, I do want to read it, and I think that I would be able to separate that book from the original 7 books, especially because it's not a book that necessarily J.K. Rowling has written herself, and it's a script and all those kind of things. So I think I could separate it. But with Go Set a Watchman, like, it is a book that Harper Lee has written, I guess, although I'm not exactly I don't exactly have my head around all the issues surrounding it being a forced publication and things like that. But To Kill a Mockingbird is a book that I adore, that I think deals with a lot of important issues, and I don't want my impressions of that book to be tainted by the really kind of issues surrounding Go Set a Watchman. So, and I've heard that, like, in particular, the main character, one of the main characters from To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus, is really, really different in this book, and I love Atticus, and I don't think that I could see him not being the awesome person that I have him in my mind as. So I don't know, they're books that I'm reluctant to pick up, but that's not to say that I won't ever read them, particularly The Cursed Child, because I do think eventually that I will read it. Question number 6, the animal that repeats others, the hummingbird. What is your favorite adaptation or retelling? Now, this one was a little bit tough for me. I actually really tried to think about this, and I don't know if I've read like almost any retelling. So for this one, I thought rather than telling you what my favorite adaptation or retelling is, I would just talk about some of the retellings that I have on my TBR that I really want to get to. The main 4 that I know that are on my TBR that I really want to read is The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. This contains a retelling of Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and Snow White. I really want to read that series. Another one is A Court of Thorns and Roses is the first book, and that I know the first book is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Another one that I have is Uprooted by Naomi Novak, which is also a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. I also have The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ardier duology, which is a retelling of 1001 Nights. Oh, and I do also have Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is a kind of retelling / adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, which is another one that I do own and that I really want to read. Question number 7, The Laughing Hyena, a book that kept you laughing. This was another tough question for me. I don't find that I read a lot of funny books, or books just I don't often find them that funny. I don't know. But the series that I've decided to go with for this question is the It Girl series by Leah Marie Brown. This is a really light-hearted, what I guess would be considered chick lit series, and it really is like a rom-com. It has some really like funny, like quirky, like kind of moments that are just, I think it is like a rom-com. I think there'd be bits that if it was on the screen you would be laughing at it. I don't necessarily like laugh out loud when I'm reading it, but it is like a kind of funny, like circumstance type of book that is just really enjoyable, and I do recommend. Question number 8, Mama Bear, a book with a fierce female character. For this one, I am going with a book that actually has 2 fierce female characters, and that is Codename Verity by Elizabeth Vine. This is a book that is set in World War II, and it follows 2 absolutely amazing female characters, and this book has one of the best female friendships that I have ever read about. I absolutely freaking adored this book. Like, I just loved this book. I think that everyone should read it. It was fantastic, and it definitely has 2 female fierce characters in it. Question number 9, The Horrible Hateful Cat, a book you despise. As soon as I saw this question, the book that immediately came to mind was Going Home by Danielle Steele. This is the only book by Danielle Steele that I've ever read. I believe it is her first book, so maybe her writing got better as she went on because she's published a bazillion books. I fucking hated this book. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. I've never despised a book more than I did this one. I hated everything about it. I believe I have a Goodreads review for this book, which I will link down below if I can find it if you're interested in like a lot of my thoughts about it. I hate that book so much. And finally, question number 10, Man's Best Friend, the Dog, a book by someone you know. This is a question that I found extremely difficult because I don't think I know a single person who actually has any kind of published work, or even anyone who's written anything that I've read that I can think of off the top of my head. So this is a total stretch. But I decided to pick a book by Jodi Picoult, just purely based off the fact that I have read, apart from her most recent release, which I do plan to pick up and read really soon, although I don't know if that's even out yet. I have read everything that Jodi Picoult has published. So in that sense, I kind of know her as an author and her writing. It's a total stretch, but I decided to go with Plain Truth by Jodi Picoult. This is a Jodi Picoult book that follows a girl who is Amish, and at the start of the story, a dead infant, like newborn infant, is found, and the girl who is very clearly had the baby is denying that she was ever pregnant, that she's ever given birth. She's obviously not supposed to have engaged in any kind of sexual activity because she is Amish and unmarried, and it just kind of kicks off from there. She eventually kind of goes on trial for the murder of this infant baby, but she's denying, of course, that she murdered it, let alone even had the baby. This is one of my favorite Jodi Picoult books. It's not my favorite, but it is definitely one, like probably in the top 5 books of hers that I've read, and it is really enjoyable, and I definitely recommend checking it out. So that was the animal book tag. I am going to tag Mel from That Girl Bookworm and Kate over at Girl Reading. I would love to see your guys' answers to these questions, particularly that last question. If you know an actual author, I'm really jealous. I don't know like any authors like at all. I've never even been to like a book signing or any kind of author event and can say that I like met them. No, I've never met any kind of author. But anyway, I would love to see you guys' answers to this question. I would love to chat in the comments down below. If you have any thoughts about any of my answers or any answers that you guys have to any of these questions, I would love to chat down in the comments just as per usual. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. But that's all I've got for this video today. Bye guys.